Om. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Deva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Yapiyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Naishitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. Anjananandanam Viram Janaki Shokanashanam Kapisham Akshahantaram Vande Lanka Bhayankaram. So these are the verses from Valmiki Upanishad where Ramchandraji is invoked, and then it's also explained that we cannot reach Ramchandraji without Hanumanji, and so we invoke Hanumanji. And so Hanumanji has reached Lanka last week and he's watching all this tamasha. First, he saw the tamasha of Lanka. And I used to say Hong Kong is very much like Lanka, but now I think Dubai has taken over. Now Hong Kong's mini Lanka. Dubai is big Mahalanka. Extrovertedness. and level of indulgence. But also, Lanka is a lot of show. A need for it. It's also a sign of Kali Yuga now. This need to use computer language now would be to filter and to edit and to make it look apparently perfect. And the reason apparently is because that's our perception, what we think perfect is. And then not real, the realness of it gets lost. And so remember, in the spiritual journey, it's so much about real, being real, seeing real, experiencing real, and on so many different levels. And so the realness in Lanka is maybe harder to find, but Hanumanji found it in Vibhishan, and now we're going to see it in Vibhishan's daughter Trijikata. So Hanumanji is perched on a tree, and he's watched Ravana come in, and this exchange between Sitaji and Ravana. And last week I said that in some Ramayans she doesn't talk much, and in some she's very bold. But even here in Tulsi Ramayana, there is one sentence that she says. So Ramchandraji is saying, if you marry me, then even Mandodari will become your handservant, and you'll have the whole of Lanka and all of this praise. And then she's still not interested at all. And then finally, I think after he threatens her, then she pulls out the blade of grass. And then there's so many interpretations on this, like not in actual Ramayana, but in people commentating on Ramayana, on the blades of grass. And I gave my interpretation last week, but other people's interpretation is like she pulls out a blade of grass as though to say to Ravana, you are as worthy as this blade of grass, rather as insignificant as this blade of grass. And it's because, he's praising her and he's charming her, and then flips to, I'll kill you. It's like, and because she's not agreeing, right? And so literally he does. And this is something we see in Ravana often. I think I spoke about it earlier too, or maybe not. We haven't yet spoken about Ramayana. But there's this devotion and sincerity and value for Mandodari, and then flip. And now just embodiment of lust, and he just wants what he wants. In this case, it's Sitaji, or this, we'll be seeing it. The good virtue is Ravana does have goodness in him, right? He's a devotee of Lord Shiva. He's done so much tapas. But the ability to just switch into something that is so base is it's so drastic. So he's cajoling and charming Sitaji, and then when she's not giving him any attention whatsoever, he pulls out his sword and he says, I'm going to kill you. And it's Mandodari that stops Ravana from actually killing, because in that moment of rage, he would have potentially even killed him. And so she says, I'm going to try and remember the exact words because it's so beautiful. A flower does not bloom for a firefly. A flower will only bloom for the sun. It's so poetic. Like, and Ravana has to be smart to even get that she's insulting him and calling him a flower, firefly, like a worm, like an insect. Equivalent to you are as insignificant as this blade of grass. But and then she says, either it will be Sri Ramchandraji's hand that is around my neck, or your sword. There will not be any other option. And so very clear that she's not going to entertain Ravana at all. The only one she will accept is Ramchandraji. And so now you get this shift from Hanumanji's perspective as he's watching this whole scene. Like, Hanumanji hasn't even met Sitaji yet, but he hears this, and then there's this incredible pride that Hanumanji has, like something like my mom, like that's Sita, that's Ramchandraji's wife, and that her firmness of her word, and like the insult is so cutting, but said in a way that's still poetic. Anyway, so Mandodari is there. Hey, you really have to imagine, like, Sitaji loving Ram. This is so. The other day I was talking to this person, and she was telling me, karma yoga, and she's older generation. So I don't think anyone in my generation does this, and definitely next generation doesn't do this. But older generation, where they were taught to be like Sita, and treat their husbands like Ram and be like Sita, be devoted. And so she's telling me, I'm really trying. I know it's been so long. I think we've crossed the 50 mark, and I'm still really trying to be like Sita. But the truth is, I feel I'm Mandodari. Which I laughed so much. I laughed so much. Because yes, Sita has Ram, which is it's almost easy to be so devoted. And like, even when you hear Ramchandraji's message to her, like, but Mandodari was as devout and as loyal and as pure as Sitaji, but married to Ramchandraji. And in this incident itself, you can see it, that she's standing there next to Ravana as he's trying to pursue Sitaji. And she's listening to Ravana say, I'll make Mandodari your handservant. And in private, she herself has, and this is potentially why it's come out of Ravana's mouth. In private, before they have gone out to Sitaji, Mandodari has told him, Ravana, that if she doesn't want you, why are you pursuing it? Like, let her be. Let her be with the one that she loves. And he's like, no, he'll forget her. She'll forget him. And then, she'll be devoted to me. And Mandodari's exact words are, if she chooses you by her own choice, I will give up my role as the first wife and queen. Because even though Ravana had many other wives, only Mandodari was queen, which is different to Dashrath Maharaja, where they were all queens. Here it's very clear. Only Mandodari is queen. Little bit, maybe they were more like concubines. It's not very clear, but definitely nobody else got the status of queen. So Mandodari is saying, I'll give up being queen and I'll give it to her if she accepts you willingly. But if she doesn't accept you willingly, give her up. Like, this was her negotiation with Ravana, in the hope that Ravana would let Sita go. But her sincerity is that she would have actually kept her words. If Sitaji had said yes to Ravana, she would willingly do it. And so just as we see that Vibhishan is a devotee in Lanka, Mandodari too is. But a devotee who's doing her duty in the sense will still be loyal to husband. And then here you see that Ravana has taken out the sword and is about to use it on Sitaji, and it's Mandodari that holds his hand back and convinces him not to. And so where you can see wherever she can, she's still trying to maintain dharma. And her words are, you cannot use a sword on a helpless person. And that too, a woman. That to a woman, but I don't like. But you cannot use your sword on a helpless person. But in that respect, hopefully, that is the reason, and that to a woman. So, and even earlier, when Mandodari is saying to Ravana that I will give up the position as queen, again, it's in hoping to be able to adhere to dharma. Like, if Sita accepts willingly, then dharma. But if she's not accepting, it's adharma. So then let her go. Although Mandodari is fairly clear that Sita is not going to accept. I mean, by this stage already, it's been, remember the rainy season was there. So it's already been like 3-4 months. And that too before they didn't find Hanumanji straight away. Would be about maybe 3, maximum 4 months. So it's already been long enough that Sitaji hasn't budged in the least bit, and so she's not going to. So Sitaji takes out the blade of grass, and it's like, your value, one, you are as significant as this blade of grass, true. What value will I be able to give in your words when you flip like this? 1 minute I love you so much, and the next minute I'll kill you. Is like, I'll give importance, the amount of importance I'm going to give to your word is as insignificant as this blade of grass. So Hanumanji, let's go back to Hanumanji. No, we cannot yet go back to Hanumanji. So Ravana, Mandodari convinces Ravana and they leave. And as I was saying, Mandodari's glory, that she's stuck with this person who she's having to manage. And she doesn't always succeed because he's not always around. But to such a large extent, she prevents things from being so much worse. Almost like her being there is his grace for so much of the success. We're going to be seeing this about Vibhishan as well. Vibhishan being in Lanka is the reason for so much of Lanka's success. And Ravana probably doesn't even see it in the least bit. So much of the prospering is because Mandodari is able to navigate and still Dharma to some extent is being kept alive. And to her, he's actually very good. Like he does have a lot of respect for Mandodari and a lot of love and time for Mandodari. So as they leave, as Mandodari convinces him and they leave, then Sitaji is crying. After he leaves, Sitaji cries. So while he's there, she doesn't. She won't, show any kind of weakness in front of him, or that he is succeeding in tormenting her. And that's when I had already mentioned last week that Trijita comes and comforts Sitaji by saying she had this dream. She also tells this to all the other Rakshasas at this point and says, and so if you know what's wise, then you will stop tormenting her. And so the full impact of the dream, I just told you the bit about the donkey, and I tried to find out what the donkey signifies, but I can't. And so I can't remember when I read it. It's not in Guruji's commentary. So she starts with saying, I dreamt that a monkey came to Lanka and burnt Lanka. And so Hanumanji is listening to this thinking, oh, that's what I have to do. Like, idea. And that soon after, Ramchandraji comes and defeats Ravana, and that's why he's on the donkey riding south. And I said, maybe the donkey's defeat, but I couldn't find that extract where that said what the donkey symbolizes. But him riding south is definitely dead. And then the kingdom gets handed over. And she sees it in her dream also that it gets handed over to Vibhishan. And so she's already telling everyone. So this is going to all happen very soon. And so, if you value your jobs and your positions and your lives, then don't torment Sitaji. And usually in Lanka, nobody ever spoke against Ravana. Like, even per chance, if this message of what Trijitaya said, like if one of these Rakshasas went and told Ravana, that's Trijita's, like he had no qualms about killing people. It was, and so here you see her boldness, her daring, and also this clairvoyancy of her ability to see the future and read signs. But most of all, from day one, Trijita has always been extremely kind to Sita. Just compassionate that she's in pain, she's being dragged here against the will, crying. So just that empathy and that kindness that you see in her. And all the qualities of Dharma. So then she also lets Sitaji be. Now this scene is only in Tulsi Ramayana. This scene is not there in all the other Ramayans. Where Sitaji looks up at the tree, and actually at the Ashoka tree has white flowers, but she sees them as red, or maybe they are red flowers, or maybe they change from season to season. But in Eknath Maharaja's Ramayana, he writes that they are white flowers. And there's this story about how Hanumanji loves reading Ramayana, listening to Ramayana. And so he's watching Eknath Maharaj write the Ramayana. And when he comes to this scene, then Eknath Maharaj writes that there were white flowers on the tree. And he says, no, sorry. I've forgotten who saw which color. White flowers in the tree. Hanumanji says they're red. Because in Tulsi Ramayana it is said that Sitaji looks up and she sees these red flowers and they look like little flames. And she starts praying that, please end my suffering. Let one of these flowers actually be flames and let them fall onto me and let my suffering end. And she's saying this out aloud under her breath, and Hanumanji is hearing this and this anguish that she's saying. So when Eknath Maharaj writes white flowers, Hanumanji remembers that Sitaji says this and says, no, they were red flowers. And so Eknath Maharaj didn't even know Hanumanji was in the room because, Hanumanji can be invisible. And so he was literally standing, this much love he has for the Ramayana, that he couldn't wait for Eknath Maharaj to finish writing the Ramayana. He stood behind Eknath Maharaj reading as Eknath Maharaj wrote the Ramayana. And so when he writes white flowers, Hanumanji manifests and says, no, they're red flowers. Firstly, poor Eknathji gets the shock of his life that somebody's in the room with him, standing literally over his shoulder, watching him write. And then he realizes this is Hanumanji of all people, not somebody is in his room, but Hanumanji is in his room. And so then he falls down flat and prostrates, and how blessed he is that Hanumanji has given darshan. And Hanumanji is not interested in any of this. And he's like, but they were red flowers, you were wrong. And when Eknath Maharaj was writing the Ramayana, he was doing it in this meditative state where things were being revealed to him, very much like how mantras are revealed to our rishis. And so they see it. And then whatever's seen it's not mine, it's what's shown to me. And so then that's what's said. And so like it was Vishwamitra that what Gayatri Mantra was revealed to in his meditation. And then he taught Gayatri Mantra. And so even our Upanishads, many of them are revealed mantras. So Eknath Maharaj says, but that's what's being shown to me. So I have to write what's being shown to me. Because it's not me writing the Ramayana, I'm writing what's being shown to me. And so whatever's being revealed, I have to do justice to that. And then Hanumanji is like, but I was there. And, again, Eknath Maharaj was brave. That may be so. But I have to write what I am being shown. And so then back and forth. And then finally it's like, well, the only other person that was there was Sitaji, so let's ask her. So Hanumanji is able to invoke Sitaji, and now Sitaji then Eknath Maharaj again falls on the floor. And this is amazing that first I had darshan of Hanumanji and now I am in darshan of Sitaji. Like this, it was just seeing it in my mind being revealed to me is very different to Sitaji actually being here and Hanumanji actually being here. So he's thrilled and he's not at all worried about what the color of the flowers are. But it's Hanumanji that's very. And so Sitaji explains that the flowers were white, but in her grief and her anger for Ravana, she saw them as red. And very often this story gets narrated to show how when we angry or when we in any frame of emotion, it colors, literally it colors our vision. And so Sitaji is hoping that this flame will fall on her and save her from her pain. And then she sees this spark or shine rather than a spark, a shine. And it's the ring that Hanumanji has taken out to be able to present it to her. And so Hanumanji drops the ring. And of course she's scared. The minute she sees the ring, she's scared because it's Ramchandraji's ring and she recognizes it. And she thinks, he wouldn't give this away. So did somebody hurt Ramchandraji and take the ring from him? And then Hanumanji starts singing. And Hanumanji is an excellent singer. It's probably not publicized enough. That's why I wrote a whole book on it. And listening to his recitation, Sitaji is somewhat pacified, but also filled with joy, because what he starts singing is the story of Ramchandraji's life, and born to Dasharath and Kaushalya in the city of Ayodhya. And so he's composing this on the spot. And so when we talk about Hanumanji being brilliant, like maybe there's not enough examples in the Ramayana to show how he's brilliant, but he's composing this whole song poem that he is singing while just there, like to be able to show Sitaji that he is definitely Ramadut. So listening to Ramchandraji's glory, of course she is. It's something that makes her feel comfort. And she wants to listen more to it. And then, of course, curiosity that who's singing Ramchandraji's glories here in Lanka? I mean, Trijita is the only one that she has ever been exposed to who has been anywhere near nice and has been a devotee of Ramchandraji. And in the back of her mind, there's still this apprehension because, Rakshasas can use illusion. Like Ravana disguised himself. And, when we say disguise ourselves, we think we put on a robe. But that's not all he did. He can actually make himself look different. Like Shurpanakha did also. When Shurpanakha went to Ramchandraji and Lakshman, she made herself look different. It wasn't makeup. It wasn't cosmetics. It was the art of illusion. So you're not seeing what's actually there. So because Rakshasas have this quality, she's still a little bit apprehensive and think like, who is this and what trick is it? What trick is Ravana playing on me now? Singing Ramchandraji's glories. And then the ring is there. And so there's a little bit of hope, but there's still quite a bit of fear. And then when he finishes his recitation, she asks, who are you? And why aren't you showing yourself? And so Hanumanji comes as this tiny little monkey, and he comes in front of her. And so again, she turns her head because she doesn't know who he is. She doesn't recognize, and it's possibly again Ravana tricking her in some form or the other. And so then he says that this ring is from Ram himself. And he's given it to me to prove to you that I am his messenger. And so now she's a little bit listening, but still there is apprehension. And then remember I said that he said the story. And so he narrates the story to her. And then she's appeased that this is actually Ramchandraji's messenger. And then how much Hanumanji is praising Ramchandraji and talking about how much Ramchandraji has missed you. And Ramchandraji has said that nobody else can understand my sorrow because only you know how much I love you. And just that's the first line of his message to her. And I can't even use my mind to find you because my mind's already with you. So I can't seem to be able to use it. It's like so much romance in the Ramayana. It's so incredibly sweet what they say to each other and what they say about each other. And so as they're talking, Sitaji is truly now completely confident that Hanumanji is from Ramchandraji and a friend. And so now she's relaxed. And then he says, don't worry, mother. And he starts calling her mother from when he's already on the tree, Maya, right? And that Ramchandraji is bringing a whole army of monkeys and we're going to save you. So she said, and this is like one of the cutest bits of the Ramayana. She kind of looks at him and she's like, you know, the Rakshasas are very big. They're very powerful. Because Hanuman's taken this little forward. She's thinking like a whole army of monkeys like this coming to how is that going to help save me? And that's Hanumanji's cue, and he grows. And surprising that the guards don't see him because he grows really big. By this stage, I think Trijita had already said, just leave her alone. So they're not even looking. And then he becomes small again. And he says to her that I'm one of the smaller monkeys in the army. Of course, he's not. Like Hanumanji is the strongest in that army. And he says, and I'm just a monkey that swings from tree to tree. And if I was able to show you this display of strength, it's because of Ramchandraji's grace. And then this analogy is so beautiful. He says, Garuda can eat any snake, except if Bhagwan blesses the snake. Then that snake can eat even Garuda. Whoever Bhagwan blesses becomes powerful, and they alone will win. So Maya, why are you worried? Ramchandraji only will win. And whoever is his army will win. And such a lovely way in which he consoles her and in which he comforts her. So here again, this idea of intelligence, but also this incredible sense of humility that he has to show. He has to show her he's strong, because otherwise she's not going to have a lot of faith that this army is coming for to save her. But at the same time, it's showing off, right? And so immediately it's whatever strength I have is because Ramchandraji has looked at me. And so all of it is his strength that is now playing out through me. And so actually this whole exchange, you can see Hanumanji's intelligence, but also you can see his dynamism, and he's able to adjust. Like so she's scared and he's able to sing the song, and then she comes in front of him, and then she's still a bit apprehensive, so she's able to engage in the discussion, and then when she's affectionately looking at him thinking you're so small, he's able to see and understand and be able to cater to what's needed in that moment. So intelligence doesn't just mean, read so many books or is witty, but to be able to, that adaptiveness to each situation. And then when all of it's over, then, and remember the whole time Hanumanji was crossing the ocean, no temptation, no distraction, I have to do Rama's work. No temptation, no distraction, I have to do Rama's work. The mountain came, no, not resting. Then Surasa came, no time to sit and indulge in prestige issues. And jealousy came, and no, not entertaining that. And Lankani came, and no, not. And so it's just been go. And so finally, now that he has delivered the message, and so literally from when he has left Kishkinda and Ramchandraji gave the ring, mission accomplished. Ring has been given to Sita. And so finally he looks at Sita Maya and he says, and of course, when we look at Maya, what else do we think? Maya, I'm hungry. And she's sitting in a Shurkavatika, which is filled with so many fruits. It's one of the best gardens in Lanka. And so lots of fruit-giving trees there. And so she says, there's so many fruits you can eat. And then in one Ramayana, it's very specific, where she says, but don't pluck. It will hurt the tree. Just whichever fruits have fallen, you eat those. So Hanumanji went, and only one fruit had fallen. So he shook the tree. So lots of other fruit. He listened to Maya perfectly. But here also you see his, here not intelligence, here you see the masti. You see the looking for loopholes. That is such an endearing thing, right? Like, because we totally understand. Like, he's definitely deserves to eat. So now he's sitting there and he's eating. And he does it very deliberately loud. You can eat quietly, no? He's very deliberately loud and throws the peels and the pit and the seed. Why? Because now he wants to be noticed. Now that mission has been accomplished and Sitaji has been given the message, now he wants Lanka to see him. Plus, Srijata had already told him, no, plan of action. He has a new goal now. And so the guards come, and then he is incredibly skilled. Like, you know that today you see all like these Mission Impossible, where they had shoom, 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 shoom. But they, like in Mission, he's got somebody telling him what to do on the earpiece. And Hanumanji had no earpiece, nobody giving him intel. He was able to fight off all the guards. Like in Hindi, they say by heart, say, like effortless, like it's no. And so Ravana had five sons. The youngest one is Akshay Kumar, not the Bollywood actor. Ravana's son, Akshay Kumar. And so he comes to capture Hanuman. So imagine what a threat already that a prince has to come. Like soldiers aren't. And Hanumanji kills him here itself. The war hasn't even started, huh? And to show that this, it's not a trifle, it's not something small, it's not something to be discarded. Although Ravana, even after a son has been killed, still doesn't take it seriously. And so you have to really understand Hanumanji's strategy and Ravana's delusion. And so then, I think it's Indrajit, when one of the other sons come, and he uses a Brahmastra on Hanumanji. Now, Hanumanji has been gifted boons by all the devatas. And one of the boons he's been gifted is none of their astras work on him. Like, really, Hanumanji's got, like, you know, when some people have that package, and like that package is just so good. Like this, you can't get a better package. Hanumanji was gifted all the siddhis, plus none of the devatas' astras work on him. Also, in addition to the devatas' astras not working on him, he was skilled enough a warrior to counter any of the astras. Just like Arjuna in the Mahabharata. Anyone threw a Brahmastra and he did. Who was he? Dronacharya's son. What was his name? Ashwatthama. Ashwatthama throws the Brahmastra at Arjuna, and Arjuna knows how to counter it. So he doesn't attack you. Doesn't. So, but the purpose of a Brahmastra is to tie you up. When here, the way it was being used here. Now, as per the rules of the way the Brahmastra works, is because it's such a powerful weapon that if you use any other material to then tie the person, then it's insulting the Brahmastra and it won't work. So the Asura gods didn't know that. So Hanumanji is being tied with the Brahmastra, which actually doesn't work for him, but he gives respect to Brahmaji and allows it to work. Here too you see his culture and his humility. But then they tie rope around him. which means the Brahmastra now actually doesn't work. And it's very easy for Hanumanji to break the ropes, but he wanted to get caught, right? That's why all this loud eating. He wanted to get caught, and he wanted to go in front of Ravana. And so, of course, that's where they take him. So firstly, Ravana gets the news that there's this monkey destroying your garden, already very annoyed. And where's he from, and who's he, and what nonsense, and why can't anyone tame him? And then news of losing his son, which Ravana's incredible, it's one of the most painful things to have to endure. And for him to not acknowledge and still be so fixated on power and desire, like to some extent, when the mind has become so numb or dull, maybe is not the right word. It's so jada. So Hanumanji is brought in front of Ramayana. This is again really one of my favorite parts of the Ramayana. And Hanumanji makes his tail grow. Because Ravana is sitting on a throne looking down, and this is that whole power play in politics. Like you assume a higher position and then you can look at the other person's at a point of weakness and disadvantage. And all these things are very subtle psychological games that they play in politics and power and things like that. So what does Hanumanji do? He makes his tail grow and he, what's this word? Winds it, coils a nice word, and then sits very on the top. But he makes sure he's higher than Ravana. So he's looking down at Ravana. And Ravana, it's actually quite funny, the whole scene. But essentially, Ravana says, "Who are you?" And his reply always, and this is probably the moment, because before this moment, Hanumanji doesn't use this line. This is the moment where he says, Ramaduta me Hanuman. Like before this, there's no opportunity for him to say, Ramaduta me Hanuman. Before this, he was always Vibhishan's minister. Sugriev's minister. But this is the first project, or what's the word? Mission that he's doing for Ramchandraji. And so here he gets to say, Ramaduta me Hanuman. In translation of Ramadut, messenger is what we usually translate Ramadut as. And even in Western movies, you see where messengers would run back and forth with these scrolls and then read out these messages, or have to memorize these messages and then take them. Before scrolls were invented, they had to memorize and take it. Your memory would have to be really good. And they were very good, especially because they were trained to. That's not the kind of messenger that Hanumanji is. Because Ramchandraji didn't give a message for Ram. He gave a message for Sitaji, and he's delivered that message verbatim. But he said so much more to Sitaji than what Ramchandraji had told him. Like he created that whole song. And then, playfully he was calling her Maya and showed her Bikata Roop, and then not just run, deliver message, go. So when he says Ramaduta me Hanuman, More would be, in today's word, what we would say like a ambassador. Like, has the right and permission to speak on behalf of. Right? That's what ambassadors are. Yeah. They have a right to speak on behalf of that country. Hanumanji had the capacity and right to speak on behalf of Ramchandraji. And to some extent, you see this already when he's delivered the message to Sita. And that's what he's been sent here. And that's probably why he's used these words, Rama Dutta Me Hanuman, because he's been sent with a message for Sita. But he wasn't sent only with a message for, they had to find Sita first. Like, usually messages and mailman address is given, you go deliver here. But here, Hanumanji wasn't given an address. First, you have to find Sitaji and then deliver this message in a way that she's going to be able to understand it and receive it in its essence. And then now he's gone further to sit in front of Ravana. And Ramadutame, Hanuman, it's messenger, but it's also ambassador, and it's also like not just speak, but act. Like he's doing so much, and we know he's going to be doing so much. So he's as good as Ramchandraji coming in so many ways without Ramchandraji coming. That's what makes Hanumanji so incredibly exceptional. That it's as good as Ramchandraji being there. In so many temples in India, they'll build Hanuman temple. And they will say, because if Hanumanji is here, it's as good as Ramchandraji being there. Ramchandraji, Sitaji, and Lakshman, all three. And so already here, like today we see it in temples all over, but already here in this moment in Lanka, him sitting in front of Ravana, it's as good as Ramchandraji being there. And then Ravana is extremely offended and says, how dare you sit higher than me? Like, have you no culture? Like, monkeys have no culture. Don't they know you in the king's court? And don't you know who I am? I'm Ravana. And then Hanumanji's answer, and Angad will give the same answer. I heard about one Ravana. Our king Bali had caught him and put him under. Are you that Ravana? Insult, absolute insult. And then I heard another story about Subahu, who is another person who totally defeated and humiliated Ravana in battle. And he says, are you that Ravana? Of course, Ravana is not at all impressed with this. Immediate, kill him. And so Vibhishan comes forward and says, but you can't kill a messenger. As per diplomatic relationships, as per culture, as per international law, you cannot kill a messenger. Like if you have a problem with the message, you have to go deal with the person who sent it. And you can't kill a messenger. And actually, of course, Vibhishan is going to follow what is dharma. What's surprising is Ravana listens. Because it's not like he has any sense of dharma. So like it to quite a few things that Mandodari and Vibhishan say to him, he would listen. Like he gets so angry. And then, okay. Emotions are so like that's us, right? We also oh. This 10 heads of Brahmana is very much it's Gurudev describes it as the senses, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and then the 5 organs through which we want to enjoy the world, but then also the 5 organs of actions, hands, legs, anus, speech, and the genitals. And so we enjoy the world, not only through our senses, but through our organs of action. And so his 10 heads are just that desperate need to enjoy the world that now there's 10 heads. One wasn't enough. There's more enjoyment, more enjoyment. But his 10 heads are also like, we have so many, like I've seen it. We don't know really what his 10 heads look like. But in one artistic renditioning, I had seen it that every face is different. And then like one comes main, then the other one goes at the back. Then another one comes. I know usually you see him drawn like this, but now there's more sophisticated ways of depicting Ramayana. And so the 10 heads are like all here, like one big head, and one becomes the main. And when I remember when I was seeing that, it's really like us when emotions, right? Like our face literally changes when we have different emotions. Like sometimes even I'll say, "Don't make big eyes at me," like, and that's that big anger face. Or then that puppy dog face, that very looky, like pleading face. No, I don't want to see that look. Don't look at me like that. Because our face actually changes. And the emotion, like the 10 faces, we're not the same person all the time. This is me taking liberty with interpreting the Ravana's 10 faces. But that's why it's depicted poetically, so that we can see it in different ways. But this is very much there, this flip thing I was talking about in Ramana, that there's not that consistency of, like, when there's an influence, he's easily influenced, even in a good way. So Vibhishan is a good influence. Mandodari is a good influence on him. Except when desire is so strong, then even these good influence, no. Like Mandodari, he actually loves, and yet he still has 300 concubines. So like, flip. And so, since he's agreed that they're not gonna not going to kill him, he thinks, and it is said, that the monkey's greatest vanity is his tail. And so Ramana says, burn his tail. Now, of course, if you burn the monkey's tail, you're burning him. So it was maybe he didn't quite flip and listen to Dharma. It was maybe his way of being able to get what he wanted to, but make Vibhishan feel like, I'm still listening to you, maybe. Or maybe he didn't think it through. Maybe he was just said it because that was what was ordained to happen. Because fire needed to be brought into the picture. Mm-hmm. And so Hanumanji is very calm at this point. They've just ordered to burn his tail, and he's very, very calm. But the thing here is, we have to remember that Hanumanji has been calm this whole time. They were searching for Sitaji already in India, and all the monkeys were tired and grumbling and complaining. And remember, Hanumanji was very equipoise. Found the cave, found water, found food. They got transported to the beach. All the monkeys, how are we going to cross the ocean? Hanumanji is super calm. Then he's told he has this, all these cities. He is reminded by Jambavan. And so now he's crossing the ocean. Mountain comes, so calm. Suryakas comes, this whole big, small, he's calm. Okay, Seneca, he destroys very decisively, and Lankani, he punctures, but calmly. Then he's going through Lanka, searching for Sitaji. And here, actually, depending on which one you read, which Ramayana you read, different, some will say he was just watching. And in Adhyatmik Ramayana, written by Vyasa. So Ramayana is written by Valmiki, not Vyasa, but Vyasa wrote the Ramayana as well. And in there, the description he says is that Hanumanji says, my mind's become restless seeing all of Lanka. Like in this environment that is so sensuous, my mind is also becoming disturbed and restless. But then he not restless enough that he'll forget his duty. He's still very task orientated. Have to find Sita. He didn't stop on that even for a moment. Gets to Ashoka Vatika and he's watching Ravana talk to Sitaji. Now it's a horrible conversation. Ravana has taken out his sword. And Hanumanji is he's watching, understanding. And then when he's talking to Sitaji, such a huge task. Like, like when we have to this is the moment we've been prepping for, and then he's come. And that's why he delivers it so beautifully. Then eating his fruit, he's calm. Getting caught by Brahmastra, he's calm. Sitting in Ravana's court, he's calm. Now your tale is going to be mine. Like, this is really an incredible quality that Hanumanji does not lose his cool. Even when the tail is set on fire, he does not lose his cool. No pun intended. Of course, pun wasn't. And so this becomes a little bit like of a getting community spirit activity for Lanka. This monkey has come, his tail is so long. Come on, everybody, help. We have to burn his tail. And so people have gone back to their homes to get cloth and oil or petrol to soak the tail in. And so it's not just one person burning his tail. Like, lots of Lanka got involved in wrapping his tail with cloth that has oil and all flammable material. This is why a lot of Lanka burnt. We have to understand action, reaction. Like this, it became this, sometimes something will happen and then everyone jumps onto the bandwagon and it becomes this. And it can be a positive thing. But here it was a negative. Here it was to insult this monkey, but they probably saw it as give punishment too. But what was his crime? He ate fruit. Like, that was his crime. Even if they're punishing him for a crime, should be proportional, right? And the only other crime is Rama Dutame Hanuman. That's not a crime. But that's what he's being punished for. For Ravana now, that's what he's being punished for. And so when they do set his tail on fire, Hanumanji, in addition to all his other qualities and talent, is a fabulous actor. Because he does lots of natak and drama. Hot, ouch. And he jumps from one house to another, one rooftop to another. making sure the fire catches wherever he jumps and burns half of Lanka. So this whole excitement that all these people felt in let's burn his tail turned into disaster, with their city almost being burned to the ground. And it really is horrendous to have to face something like that. So completely, totally devastated. And Sitaji is hearing all these screams and all these shouts and doesn't know what's happening, just hearing them. Snippets of, and she can see fire here there, hearing this. And Srijita comes back with news saying they've burnt Hanumanji with fire. I think Srijita came back even before they actually burn him. And Sitaji prays to the Devata of fire not to burn Hanumanji. And that's in one Ramayana. Hanumanji's tail does not burn because Sitaji prays. The entire time Hanumanji's tail is on fire, Sitaji is praying to fire not to burn him. Another Ramayana, it is explained that Hanumanji himself is so pure that fire, out of respect for and worship for Ramchandraji and Hanumanji's purity, doesn't burn him. So after he burns half of Lanka, he dips his tail into the ocean and then he comes back to Ashokavatika, to where Sitaji is. His mother, she'd be worried. And so he shows her, see, I'm fine. You don't have to worry. And then he says, actually, why are you waiting for Ramchandraji? Just get onto my back and I'll take you back. And Sitaji finally smiled and said that is his privilege. It's Ramchandraji's privilege to come and get me back. So, you said it won't take long, right? I've waited this long. I'll wait 2-3 more days. And then bowing down to her, Hanumanji now heads back. This whole incident can be so dramatic. And actually, when I tell it with the Valvihar kids, I make sure it's dramatic. But actually, Hanumanji is so calm. In all this excitement and drama, and he is very, very strategic, and he's very, very calm. Because only when we calm can we truly be Ramadut. If we're not calm, we can't be Ramadut. And so setting Lanka to fire was also Ramadut. If we're given to a dharma, it burns. We'll pause here for today. Any questions? Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit kapag bhave, asato ma satkamaya, Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityarma Amritangamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate Om Shanti 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 Hare Om Shri Guru Namaha Hare